Dr. Ortiz? Dr. Ortiz, are you there?
Dr. Raynaldo Ortiz, the Dallas anesthesiologist accused of poisoning patients, wanted to tell his side of the story.
How much time do you have on this phone call?
He called us from the Limestone County Detention Center after we sent him a letter. He asked us not to broadcast his voice.
They're accusing you of contaminating these IV bags.
He told us, if you went to my hearing, all that stuff that they said was completely a lie. I've had no lawsuits, no malpractice in 29 years, not one. According to this criminal complaint, for 3 months, from May to August of this year, 11 people who came in for routine outpatient surgeries suffered cardiac episodes on the operating tables at Baylor Scott & White's Surgicare, North Dallas. While Ortiz wasn't the anesthesiologist in any of those routine surgeries, prosecutors allege he tampered with IV bags used in them.
Let me ask you this. How rare would it be for 11 patients at a day surgery center to be coding like that?
Ortiz said, quote, "That is unusual. It's just unheard of because, that's where all the healthy people go. Does that make sense?"
So you feel like you're being set up, essentially?
He responded, "Oh, I'm very much being set up." But prosecutors say these 2 surveillance videos are key pieces of evidence. They show Ortiz placing IV bags in a warmer for use in surgeries. Both times after nurses pulled IV bags from it, a patient experienced a cardiac episode. Dr. Ortiz says a surveillance video of him placing an IV bag in the warmer is not what it looks like. Ortiz said, "Patients get cold with the anesthesia. Does that make sense? So we try to prefer to give them a warm bag."
You're just putting it back in there because it's gotten cold. Is that what you're saying?
Ortiz responded, "Absolutely right. The bag's already in the room because the anesthesia tech, he's the one that sets up our room. An hour, 2 hours later, that bag is cold because it's been sitting out, so I take it back." Ortiz pleaded not guilty to federal charges related to tampering with IV bags. Although investigators identified 11 patients affected, he was only indicted for 4 patients who underwent surgeries in August. Those 4 patients ranged from 18 to 78. One of them was this young man.
Jack is 18 years old, healthy, athletic, no medical problems.
His grandfather told us his grandson needed minor nose surgery for a sports injury.
There was a serious cardiovascular crisis in the operating room. Jack had to be placed on a life support. Jack's mom, my daughter, asked one of the doctors, "Is he going to make it?" And the answer was, well, 50-50 chance. Can you imagine how devastating that is?
Jack's grandfather, Dr. Daniel Wogelernter, is actually a cardiologist in Los Angeles.
Of course, I had no reason to suspect this was done intentionally. That line of thinking came out subsequently, to our horror.
Records show his grandson was the last of 11 patients to experience cardiac complications during routine surgeries.
When there are unpredictable, unexplained episodes of serious complications, how do you let more than one go by? How do you not just put a pause on everything?
Although Jack and the other 10 patients survived, the indictment says Ortiz's actions caused the death of Melanie Kaspar. She was an anesthesiologist where Ortiz worked. In June, Dr. Kaspar was feeling sick and took an IV bag home to give to herself. She died, but her cause of death was not determined for 2 months. Her husband, John Kaspar, saw her die.
It was, the most agonizing thing I've ever seen in my entire life.
On August 24th, tests came back showing she died from the toxic effects of an anesthetic. That's also the same day 18-year-old Jack almost died in surgery. Baylor shut down their facility that same day. The criminal complaint says testing found 2 anesthetics and epinephrine in an IV bag used in Jack's surgery. In a statement, Baylor officials told WFAA the facility engaged several experts to review its protocols and procedures, which confirmed the accessibility of medications and IV bags at the facility were in line with industry standards. The statement also said the facility resumed normal operations more than 4 weeks later, only after an extensive investigation. Investigators believe the problem was limited to one individual who has been arrested.
The buck stops at the hospital.
Dallas pulmonologist Alan Shulkin previously served on the Texas Medical Board, which oversees doctors. He said Baylor took too long to shut down the facility.
Hospital has to assume responsibility for it, whether it was some systems failure, whether it was an individual, an evil person.
Did they fail?
Yes, I think the hospital failed because they allowed surgery operations to continue without understanding what was happening.
What medical malpractice attorney Kay Van Way and other experts say about Ortiz's history with Baylor is equally concerning. In 2021, he relinquished his privileges at Baylor's North Garland Surgery Center. According to the medical board's findings, one of his patients needed CPR and he didn't act appropriately. Van Way questions why Baylor still allowed him to work at their North Dallas center.
What I've seen over and over and over again in medical malpractice cases is that great deference seems to be given to the physician's rights, and they want to give the physician due process. But in the meanwhile, what about the poor patient?
Baylor officials told us Surgicare North Garland reported its investigation of Dr. Ortiz to the Texas Medical Board. The statement did not address why he continued to work at the North Dallas Surgicare facility. We asked Ortiz about that North Garland patient whose surgery he was disciplined for. Ortiz said, quote, "That guy was a morbidly obese man. He was not healthy. He coded. I did everything we could." Ortiz told us that he only gave up his privileges in North Garland because that's what his attorney advised him to do. He said it would probably be just better to resign under investigation than to have your privileges revoked. So that's what we did. We asked Ortiz if there was anything he wanted to say directly, in his own voice.
I'm guilty. I'm guilty.
In Dallas, I'm Tanya Iser.